Welcome to the Second Chair Leadership YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mark Novosek, and today we get into vision. Do you have vision in the church? Now, for a little context, I've been in leadership in the church for 20 years over the course of 4 different churches, very big churches, smaller churches, mid-sized churches, and we all have something in common. All these churches have something in common. Number one, what I have in common with you, if you've clicked on this channel, is that I've been a second chair leader my entire career. I've never been the senior pastor, and churches always want to have vision. Where are we? Where have we been? Where are we? Where are we going? And how are we going to lead this congregation in this context into the now and into the future? And I have little tips and tricks today to be able to help you as the second chair leader working with your senior leader, your senior pastor, and with whether it's a board of directors or a church council and perhaps a board of elders. The leadership's the ones actually approving and check marking all those different visions, how you can come along underneath and be able to help with that vision of the church. Now, I want to be clear. Today, there's going to be 3 different sections. You can scroll back and forth on the bottom there if you'd like to, but we're going to start with personal vision and what that means, and then we're going to get into intentional vision and unintentional vision. So here we go. Number 1, your personal vision. Perhaps you've clicked on this video and you're like, vision? I don't necessarily know what my vision is, what the church's vision is, what my senior leader's vision is. And some of those things have been true for me over the course of my career as well. And I want to say, don't worry. Our vision, you and I and the church, we all have the same vision, should have the same vision anyways, which is a biblical vision. And every church I've been in has that fancy way of basically saying the same thing. It's usually 3 different words that means love God, love others, and serve the world. It's that great commandment and that great commission. Jesus calling his believers to love God, love others, and serve the world. And let me tell you, I've been on committees, I've been in churches, I've been on staff retreats, I've been on leadership teams that all struggle deeply with these topics of loving God, loving others, and serving the world, and where, when, why, and how are we going to do these things. And for you personally as a leader, those are the things that you need to remember, is that loving God, loving others, and serving the world in your own personal context, and how can you live that out in the world. So when I was a young church worker leading in the second chair, trying to help the senior pastor in a smaller church, I was in a committee to help write a mission and vision statement. And I remember coming in to the leadership team and being a real young, snarky leader. And I asked the question pretty early on, well, why do we exist as a church? Why are we here? And I was hoping to get answers like a love God, love others, and serve the world type of context. And the first thing that one of the people on the committee said was, well, so I don't have to go traveling 20 minutes down the road to the next church. And I was like, oh, I guess sometimes you get what you ask for, maybe not in the way that you've asked for it. So sometimes churches and even senior pastors, they don't necessarily know what their vision is or what they're supposed to be doing. So the next 2 chapters here are really about intentional and unintentional vision. So, intentional vision or expressed vision is that public facing vision outside the church, inside the church, and in your community. That is what your front facing vision is. Perhaps you're in a church where you have a stated mission, vision, and values statement. Maybe you already know that you're really leaning into loving God, loving others, serving the world, and you're going to do this by whatever it is, leaning into small group ministry, and you have 15 small groups right now, and you want to have 25 small groups by the end of 2026, and you want to have 50 small group, whatever that is. Maybe you really want to upgrade your contemporary or your traditional worship style, whatever the case may be. That your mission, vision, and values expressed intentional. You've gone through the committees. It's all the senior pastor has been good about laying down what these things are. It's expressed. And there's different kinds of expressed vision. Maybe in a smaller church, it's not as well laid out. Maybe it is. I don't know. But in a lot of the smaller churches, it's easier for a senior leader and a small group of ministers to be able to verbally communicate that or communicate that from the pulpit. It's when you get larger where you really have to have it all written down and sussed out. So intentional vision, how can you, as the second chair, help that intentional vision? And here's where your homework starts. I want you to be able to take that intentional vision and really map out for yourself, am I really leaning into, am I in my own individual jobs and in my own individual walk with this job or call that I have as the youth pastor, worship leader, finance person, volunteer, whatever you are? Am I helping that expressed vision to move along, or am I hindering it? And what does that mean? Well, there's usually three different kinds of people serving in a church. And if you think about a church as a boat, and there's 6 people in a boat with percentages of those people making up the whole of your congregation. You have 6 people. Usually in a congregation, 2 of those people are really working hard, are rowing towards the vision, towards where you want to go, and really moving forward with that vision. There's usually 3 that are in the boat that aren't causing any problems, but they're not rowing, but they're not necessarily hurting anything. They just are. And there's more oftentimes than not, I'm sorry to say, one person who's actively moving against what you're trying to do in ministry. And that's something that I want you to consider today as that second chair. I'm sad to say that sometimes in ministry, I've been that person that has actively tried to be sabotaging things intentionally and unintentionally. And part of a healthy church is really moving forward, intentionally moving that vision forward. So really take a look at your expressed vision and see if you are aligned, and maybe you're not. And maybe those are things that you need to talk about with your senior leader or with staff or with volunteers if you work with volunteers. And certainly not breaking any kind of 8th commandment thing there, not talking terribly about people or behind people's backs, but really trying to figure out your homework and am I working towards our church's vision or not? So the second piece today we're going to be talking about is unintentional vision. And I really want to spend some careful time with unintentional vision because too often times than not, I've had a senior pastor or a senior leader and a church executive team that I couldn't necessarily figure out what the overall vision and strategy was of the church and had to kind of figure out on my own, okay, well, what's this mission and vision that we have that's unexpressed that I need to help with. Even in churches that have had mission, vision, and values, and what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, very verbally and written down, expressed, I've noticed that that doesn't always align with what the senior pastor and with what the church elders and the executive team are necessarily doing. So the first thing I would ask you to do is, if you're brave and you have a good relationship with your senior pastor, ask him, what's your vision for the church? Where are we moving? Where are we headed? Maybe he's never had anyone actually ask him up front, just straight up front, what's your vision? What's your heart? Where are you moving with this church and going? And where do you want to see this church now? And in a year from now? And in 5 years? And in 10 years? And I think you might be surprised with the conversation. Now, as the second chair leader, that's not something that you're ever necessarily going to be tasked with or be able to be blessed with helping move along that ultimate vision. But how can you be aligned with your senior pastor and with the boards and executive team to be able to move that piece forward? I've had to have hard conversations with senior leaders before. Hey, man, what are you doing here? This is our mission and vision, and I'd be happy to move forward with you on a different path. But right now, what you're doing and what we're aligned with on mission and vision, it isn't matching, and I'm having a hard time following you. And maybe you're not able to be that brave. Maybe it's an unhealthy situation, and I would ask you to pray about whether this place that you're working at is healthy for you to work at. You should be able to approach your senior pastor or your senior leader and ask for unintentional vision and what are they looking for. Are you aligned with your senior leader? And another thing I want you to pray about is look at all your ministries. Look at all the things that you are tasked with. Are you unintentionally not aligned with where the church and where the mission of the church is going? Right now, where I'm at and where I'm serving, there are things that I'm doing that are great, and I love them, and I feel energized, and I feel like I'm in the right place where I should be. But there are other things that I don't necessarily prefer that I'd be doing them, but I know that they're the mission and the vision of the church and where we're headed. So I'm happy to do it, and I'm happy to move that vision along because that's what the senior leader wants. So that's really where we're headed as far as vision goes in the church. I hope this video was helpful for you. Just to kind of recap, personal vision, love God, love others, serve the world. Intentional or expressed vision, what your front-facing vision is, and then also unintentional or unexpressed vision. What are the things that your senior pastor or your executive team has on their hearts but aren't necessarily showing it or communicating it? And how can you really get aligned with what the vision is of your senior leader and the church? Would love to continue that conversation with you. If you have any questions and you want to continue the conversation, do it in the comments below. I want to continue to lead from the second chair and continue to lead with His grace and His mercy. See you again next time.